After the initial addition of a chart, there are a lot of modifications that can be made. This video will show you some of these changes, as well as show you some tips and tricks to speed up the creation of other charts within the same report. For this video, we'll start by looking at an already added pie chart that displays the number of incidents by each class type. First, to modify an added chart, from the tool window on the far left, click on the Report Structure tab. Then, from the list below, double-click on the chart to reopen the chart properties. Starting on the Data Source tab, the most common property to change is probably editing the appearance of the text for the coordinate label. Sometimes finding the properties you want to change can be a little challenging. So 2 tips for searching through these properties are 1. Whenever you see a white triangle within the properties list anywhere within the Report Designer, this means that there are additional properties that are hidden within that section. Clicking on that white triangle will expand the selection so you can see those other properties. Clicking on the black triangles will collapse the section back down if you want to hide the properties. The second tip is in the top right corner of the window is a sample chart. And clicking on the different areas within this preview will take you to that property that you just clicked on. For example, if we hover over value 3, we can see this is the coordinate label. This will be the name of the pie section, which in this example is our different class types. Clicking on this will take us to that property listed below, where we can then change the appearance for the font and any other properties that we might want to change. Another property setting that can be adjusted on this tab is the legend. Here we can see the default is to display the coordinate label values at the chart, or at each pie section. But changing this allows us to see the values in the legend either on top, to the left, to the right, or to the bottom of the chart. Next, on the Segment tab, another common change, this time around, is the appearance of the label on the object. This is the numerical value that we see on the different pie sections, which in this example is a count of incidents. As with the label we saw just a moment ago, clicking on the numbers within that chart preview will take you to the Label on Object property where you can adjust the font in the same manner as we just saw, as well as the format and the content options. In the case of the format, this may be important to change depending on the calculation you are using. If you're using a count, as we are here, despite what the preview may show, you won't have .xx of an incident. Keep in mind that the Report Designer does not know what the numerical value of each section will be yet, so these are just sample numbers. From the Format field, we can adjust the format for this data value. Since it's a count of records, it will be a whole number, and we probably don't need the decimal places visible, in which case, from the list of properties, we can select the number format and change the decimal places to 0. If we needed to, we could also adjust the thousand separator and format for negative numbers, and so on. The Content field shows us this is currently displaying the count of incidents as a percentage. This can be changed as well. In the example that we're looking at here, our chart is displaying a count, so it might make more sense to change this to the absolute value. Specific to pie charts, there's also an explosion offset field here. This will allow you to display some separation between each pie segment by increasing the percentage. On the Chart tab, you can adjust the color mode, not the individual colors of the sections, but instead the overall appearance, whether this be separate colored segments, as we see now, or monochromatic. We'll see the actual color changes will be done on the Colors tab shortly. Also here, you can adjust the X and the Z rotation if you wish to turn the chart. This can also be done in the preview by clicking on the arrows around the circle in the top left corner of the preview. On the Diagram Area tab, if a title has not yet been added, you can click between the quotation marks and add your title. Below this field, you can adjust the font properties as we've seen previously, as well as the location of the title if you want to move it. In the Background section, you can choose to show or hide the faint blue background that can be seen behind the chart. Finally, on the Colors tab, you can adjust the color scheme for the chart, and this can be done in one of 3 ways. 1. From the Project Design Scheme drop-down list, you can select from a series of pre-built color schemes. 2. From the list of colors displayed below, you can manually change the color values for colors 0 through 9. When changing the colors individually, the challenge that you may have is knowing how many values you need to change. Sometimes changes like this are best done after executing the report, so you can see how many pie sections will actually show. Also, you can only change 10 colors. So if you have more than 10 pie segments that will appear in your chart, you'll notice that the same colors will be recycled, but in a lighter hue. The third option is to use the Fixed Colors tab. Here you can use a condition to fix colors to certain values. For our example, let's say we always want the security class incidents to show in red. Click on the Add New Assignment button. Then in the window that opens, navigate to the class field and double-click on it to select it. Then in the window below, type the equal symbol, then an open quotation mark with security and close quotation mark. Those quotation marks are required. Without these, you'll see there's an error message at the bottom of the window. Also, it's crucial that you type the name of the value exactly as it appears within your database. Any spelling mistakes, including case sensitivity, will cause this to not work. In some cases, you may see that this process will cause all pie segments in the preview to appear in the same selected color. Again, keep in mind that the report designer doesn't know which section will be the security class incidents yet, so this won't be the actual final output that you'll see in your report. You can repeat this process for any other fixed colors that you wish to assign. If you want to adjust the size of your chart within the report container, you can do that by navigating to the Output Height field in the Properties window, and here you can adjust the height of the chart. A little further below, down the list of properties in the spacing section, you can add values to the left and the right space fields. This will pull the chart in by however much you enter. If your report container is 8 inches wide and you enter 1.5 inches to both the left and the right field, this will shrink that chart by that amount from each side of the report container. Other property adjustments that you can make include filter and sort options. In the case of the sort order, if you wish to sort the values, click in the field and select the appropriate sorting, either ascending or descending, as designated by the plus or minus symbols beside each field. In the filter field, you can further filter the chart data above and beyond what the Analysis Expert query may already be filtering by. Let's say we want this chart to only display a count of class types at each of our single campuses. In the filter field, select the formula option, then in the window that opens, navigate to the campus field and select it. In a similar manner that we just saw with our fixed colors a moment ago, type the equal symbol, and then between quotation marks, type the name of the site value exactly as appears within your database. In a scenario like this, it would also probably make sense to modify the chart title to indicate that this chart is now displaying data from just one location. If you have similar charts that you want to appear within the same report, you don't always have to add them from scratch. In the tool window on the far left where the chart is listed, single click on it, and then in the mini toolbar above, click the copy and paste buttons. This will create an exact duplicate of the chart, including all property settings we've already set. For this next chart, now all we have to do is modify a few of the properties to change its appearance. Maybe for this next chart, we just want a different location, in which case we can simply change the filter value from one campus to another, and then update the title of the chart to indicate this new location. We can also change the chart type after copying and pasting these charts. This time around, I'll copy and paste the chart and change it to a simple bar graph. Although this is a different chart type, it still shares much of the same properties. And again, I can just update those properties to reflect what I want this chart to show. This time, let's say we want a count of incidents by campus. On the x-axis, I can change the coordinate value from class to campus. On the y-axis, I can see this is still counting records, but I can quickly adjust the appearance of the access label to eliminate the decimal places as we saw in the format properties, and I can modify the title as well as any colors as we saw previously. In all, it can take just a few minutes to copy and paste these different charts and modify the few properties so that we can differentiate what each chart will show. Another change that you'll probably want to make in a scenario like this where you're copying and pasting is to rename each chart in the tool window so it's easier to identify which one's which. The default naming of any element in the report container is always the element type, followed by the query name and the filter if one has been added. We can change this name by either entering a name in the name field in the properties window for the selected chart, or you can single click on the chart twice within the tool window and then type in a new name. Our final topic for this session will be to show you how to create a multi-column report. In the tool window on the far left, click on the report container. Then in the properties window beside, change the column count to 2. Sometimes you'll notice all elements within the report container will then be pushed over into one column. Now, on an element by element basis, we can decide whether the item should appear in one column, which would be across the entire report container, or in just one of the 2 columns. If needed, we can also use the up and down arrows in the tool window on the far left, and or the column break before field in the properties window to adjust where each of these charts should appear within the report.